Okay, it is 6:04 and we'll call to order the January 2024 meeting of the Norfolk Board of Education. First on our agenda is public comments. Wilson, would you like to make any, you're a member of the public here today, would you like to make any comments?
I'm all right.
Thank you for joining. And I don't believe Amy is our only online participant, so we'll move on to our.
Hi, Amy. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
Move on to next item on our agenda, the approval of the minutes of, we actually have to vote on the November minutes and the December minutes. Last meeting, we didn't have enough people who were at the November meeting to be able to vote on it. Do we this thing?
I know, just thinking, I'm just looking around.
So who was there?
Yeah.
You were at November.
I was in November, not the one.
And
I was at the November meeting. That
well,
helps.
Still can't.
no, we can't.
Well, I don't believe
Amy,
ever be able to, because
Because Donna wasn't there.
So,
Right, but Virginia and
because that's not recorded.
Yeah, it's
but if
on.
Virginia were here, you were here at the last meeting.
No, for
I
November.
can't. I say I
I think, I feel confident.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm not gonna. That's not recorded.
we may have to do some research on how to handle those minutes for November.
I can check in with Mark.
Yeah, and manage that. We could watch the.
So who was at
The members there were.
John and Ann were missing from November.
John?
Me, Jane, Amy were
You,
missing
it
from
says,
December.
it says you were you there
In
on,
November?
in November? Oh, you're not listed here. So if you,
So November,
if you, Jay, Amy and Ginger, yeah, so you could too. So we'll table that one again.
And they should be rewritten with her.
Yeah.
yeah. Janet, Ginger, John, and
Motion to
Ann.
not approve. Table.
I don't know that we need to go to the table, but we should table.
And then December we can do, right?
Yes.
Yes, so it
Motion
would,
to approve the meeting minutes, December 2023, Board of Education.
Okay.
It's the four of us who vote, right?
I cannot.
But we're here. Approved. I vote to second.
No, there are only three. Yep. it's-
Oh, my goodness, this is.
Yeah.
Never-
So we need to have Ann, John, Virginia, and Walter.
All right, so we'll table that one too, and everyone has to come to the February meeting. All right, Ginger, when you watch this meeting, just know that you are loved and you are missed. We need you. Okay,
Yeah, Wilson.
yeah, well, moving on to correspondence. I want to mention this very nice note that actually was sent to Lauren. I hope it's okay. with you.
Yeah, I was going to bring it.
I probably took it from your.
That's
file.
okay. It's-
Anyway, we received this note from, I
yeah.
think, Gerald Clower. It's a little hard to read his name, but I think that's the name listed here. And it is a program from the graduation in 1956. And a really interesting thing about this is that in the graduating class is our very own Sally Carr. So it's really a very interesting little thing. And it's kind of,
Did you look at all the sixth graders? Look at the class.
there's quite a number, certainly more than we have
Yeah.
with us right now.
And then you have to look at the song that they sang on the back about God and songs from David, and it was a different era then. You could do those things.
But it was very nice to receive that, and you know, it was a nice thing for them to share. So thank Mr. Clower very much, and it was fun to look at.
There's one more piece of correspondence if you'd like to read that. We were donated an American flag from grandparents of students in honor of her father who served in World War I. So that flag will be flying tomorrow if you'd like to share.
Oh, that's very nice. I'll read this note. It says, Merry Christmas to all of Hotel School. I always enjoy watching those designated to fold the flag on Fridays when I pick up
Hunter and
Hunter
Ira.
and Isla.
Yeah.
My dad's second lieutenant, John Rep, POW during World War II, honored our flag and taught his children to do the same. I noticed one day that the flag was a bit frayed, so in honor of my dad and all of us who appreciate freedom, we're gifting you a new flag. Happy, healthy 2024. We love Hotel School. Donna and Ken.
I think it's Burkhart.
Burkhart?
Yeah.
Mimi and Pump.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. That's very, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for any that don't know, the kids raise and lower the flag every day, and they bring it inside, they hold it, they take very good care of it.
Yes, they
And
do.
it is very nice to watch. I watched it all the time because I always brought my kid in late, so all of my kids in late, so I had a lot of experience seeing that, and it's very nice to watch because I'll take it very seriously and they do it. Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report.
All right, so just a couple little points of interest. I've been in contact with Matt Riska because the rains that we had last just before Christmas break flooded the parking lot, turned it into an ice skating rink. I mean, it was just slick. And even with the park and the Public Works Department putting sand, it was treacherous. So we're waiting to hear back because we think the part of the problem might be the culvert that they filled with stone so that the people didn't fall into the hole. There's small rocks and they were packed. So when the water comes off the hill, it goes right over, it's not draining, and it's just covering the parking lot. So we're gonna need a long-term response to that. So hopefully, Matt wasn't in today, but I'll check with him again tomorrow and see what the plan is for that. What else have we got here for you? In an effort to continue to build awareness, I'm thinking it would be a really nice idea if we could do something like this, to add to the two signs coming into the town with a little banner that says, proud of our school. I understand that this sign was donated or whatever by some group, so we would have to just maybe check in with them and check in.
Community Association.
Okay, so, and I don't know who else we would have to check with, and I will talk to Matt about that too, if it's something.
We can talk to Walter, who I think is,
Oh,
I'm on board. Yeah.
oh, well,
he
wonderful.
would know how to.
It's just a little something when I was in East Haddam, we had the signs built and it says East Haddam, proud of our schools, and you're driving into town from either direction, and it just makes people a little bit more aware, and it's just a little positive little thing to put out there. So I just thought I would share that and see if the board was interested in having me move forward with trying to see if we could. It would be under $1,000 to do it. I'm sure we could, find the means to pay for them if it's something you think would be value added.
In line with our, trying to give out the message and to be more proactive and reaching out and letting people know about the school. I feel like it could be a really solution.
We talked about this, right? Not December, maybe November. You mentioned it.
I mentioned that I didn't bring the pictures because there was really nobody here. I thought there was 8, so we had more. Keep waiting. It's in the pile, and my files are growing piles. So
No, I think it's great.
So the plan would be to ask the community associates if they would be willing to add the sign if we were to purchase the wood pieces and provide them, make sure that they just.
Yeah. And I talked to the man who put those signs up so they can match everything. He can match everything perfectly. It won't look like some kind of, haphazard thing. It would, and as you can see, it says the tagline will go on the other side. They mocked up the picture with the sign that's leaving town, but we would have it on the sign that side that says, welcome to Norfolk.
Who was the company that did the signs?
Did I write it down?
He's on.
GHI.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think that would be something that'd be,
I can definitely run it by the.
you don't mind? Do
No,
I-
no, no.
Perfect. Thank you. And if you want to send me, if it's
Yeah, I'll copy you
before,
an email.
perfect.
Because I
Okay.
know during one of the co-references, she's a mentor person in
Okay.
Florida, so it'll all by email. We'll just
Okay,
copy you.
thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Does that have to come out of my Vitel? Should that be coming out of Vitel email address then, since it's for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be best.
I'm gonna point to do that.
So we tried really hard to do all of our board communication through our board email addresses. The reason being that if anything ever comes up like
FOIA request.
yeah, they then they only have access to that email and that's your personal. Do you little installation?
And then the board has talked a lot about our focus on including the community and reaching out to the community and being responsive to the community. So I've been talking with Jonathan Costa, and we thought that the thought exchange might be a really powerful way to, and we'd also talked about, looking at our vision statement and really making it public. And this is it's like, I think, a 3-question survey that we can put out to everybody in the community. We can send it to everybody and anybody, anywhere within the community. And what it will do is take the information that is input by community members, and it will sort it and segregate it to tell us what are the common thoughts, what are the common concerns, what are, the redundancies. It will do all of the, so that we can kind of pare down from the community's perspective, what's that main question? What are the most important hopes, considerations we should consider as we craft a new vision for the future of the Botel School? And it will, like I said, just kind of give us something to look at and consider and to incorporate into our vision statement that we talked about crafting and updating. So again, I didn't want to move forward without boards.
Board member review. Not to.
Oh, we can have a board member. We can. We can do anything we want at this point. We can change the type of question, but wanted something simple, easy that, wouldn't require a lot of time, but and people can submit it multiple times. So if they put something in and decide they've thought about it and want to add something. So as long as that survey is open, people can.
Is it anonymous?
It is. It asks for a role, but no name.
I don't know how many people are on the weekly email from Town Hall, but the EDC just did this last week
Oh, they did?
for asking what would you like to see in the Senate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it might be something that, people should read. Or, it plays off that nicely
yeah.
if we take that for an issue.
I really like this idea and feel like it's, I know sometimes people worry that when I ask an open-ended question, you might get answers you don't want or something like that. But I feel like, we really want to hear what people have to say and hear it directly. And so the more we can, encourage people to communicate directly with us, I think the more effective it will be.
And the only censoring is if it's obscene language and something really foul, it would bump that up, but it doesn't otherwise filter any negative or.
So what's the thought exchange? How are the answers delivered? Like in an Excel file or something like that?
I'm not sure about all the technical parts, but the IT people at Advance and our Ian will be able to manage. I'm not sure how it comes back. I'm not really sure about the behind the scenes stuff.
How can we reach the community as a whole, though? My concern with the weekly emails is I think only 400 or 500 people have signed up to subscribe to.
Well, we would
Among
send it out to
town
all
houses.
of our people, the
By
town
email?
people. Yeah, we would, reach out to the library, any group that has any kind of a distribution list. can post it. And again, it would require people kind of brainstorming, multiple ways to get it out so that everybody could, and then how to just, let people know it's there.
Well, what about I'm not that familiar with the thought exchange specifically, but if it's a web address, could we create a QR code and put out put an ad in Norfolk Now?
That's what I'm saying,
Make
that's
a-
the one thing that hits every house.
Right.
Okay.
And even
I'm sure.
even a sign at the Berkshire store with the QR code on it.
Okay,
Just saying,
let me see if we can do that.
We have our email list, there's the weekly, the town weekly news email address, but we couldn't really necessarily use other people's lists because they usually restrict it to use.
And then to advertise it, that this is something we want your input, and here's where you can access the QR code and, right. And when I went out with the signs about for administrator, everybody was more than happy to put that flyer, so we can generate a flyer like that too. The library, the post office, the bank, the hub, the Berkshire store, sure, put it up. So.
Yeah, I think Norfolk Now is effective because it also goes to people outside of who aren't actually in town, and the flyers are effective for people who are kind of walking around town. I think that those are really good things.
Would the only way to respond be a QR code, but I have people like my parents that are not comfortable with it.
Well, we could put up, we can ask for permission to put a box in at the hub where people could write something and enter it there.
Or can
Could they,
just print the URL.
Oh, you mean, instead of having the
Right.
QR code?
Well,
The QR code can have the
so-
URL with it.
Right.
Um,
Right, so don't have the QR code, but you can take a picture of the
Because
URL.
I'm thinking the opposite direction, like an insert in Norfolk Now, that is something you can return to the hub, or if you'd rather scan and not have to make a trip to the hub.
Then use the QR code.
Well, there's no reason why we couldn't, does it, well.
But I guess if they see the flyer,
Just have the QR code, but they don't want the QR code,
Like,
then, but they can't enter the URL.
Oh, I just think people are reluctant to take that, some older, and.
What else instead
Not
of the
particularly
new-
tech savvy community.
would there be a way to set up a computer someplace at the hub or someplace that people could go on the computer and just?
They want,
Well, I think that if the goal is to reach people who are not computer comfortable, then, and we're gonna take one step, maybe it would make the most sense to have a paper option. And if it was in Norfolk Now, what if instead of paying for an insert, what if we just made the ad look like a coupon you could cut out and mail back? Would that be enough, do you think, or do you think that would not be
Seems similar.
noticeable enough?
Because then somebody would have to go collect the papers in a box and put all that information into the same system versus. Well, this kind of has the same concept of what we talked about in the earlier year, like sending out something to the families which is still sitting in my outbox to you. This seems definitely simpler because you can tally the answers a lot easier.
And the
obviously,
beauty
online.
of this is that if it's done electronically, you don't have to tally
Right.
anything. It's
The paper ones would have
synthesized.
to
Right, the paper would
And
have to be.
So somebody would have to then physically go through.
Right.
And then there might be that subjective piece to like interpreting or, somehow
I feel like adding, like, I get what, like, the direction, like you're saying, I feel like that adds more complication too, because like you said, somebody will have to go collect the things, tally it and stuff. So maybe a better idea would be like at the hub or the library, setting up a computer system stating like, this is where you can. Because I feel like a lot of people, those are both high
Or
traffic
we
areas.
could invite people to come here and we could just
Right.
help them, whatever, they would just need to show up. We'd have somebody who could just say,
Right,
here are the questions, 2 minutes, you answer them, and then you're on. your
right, and it's
way.
all tallied by the computer and doesn't leave.
And
Do you think that would work though for like?
no,
your
I don't
parents
think I
wouldn't
know.
do that?
I'm thinking about, so I play hub with older folks at play bridge at the hub with none of that group is gonna scan and fill out a thing. They will use URL. I mean, if we can find an easy way to distribute that, get around, people are comfortable with clicking on links and answering things. I don't think that people will get in the car and go to school to fill out a 3-question survey. I don't think that they'll make a trip to the library to do it. I personally, I know I sit there on a Sunday morning going through all my mail, and if I run across it, then I'll do it that. I'm not gonna make a special trip to answer 3 simple questions.
Maybe like when we do, like if we did the Norfolk Now put a flyer in, we can attach the URL or maybe send out a link with the URL that they can just click on.
Yeah,
If they
well,
signed
so-
up for Botel emails and,
Anywhere a QR code is,
Yeah.
it's easy enough to put the QR code underneath it. The only people you would miss are people who are just not comfortable typing in their response, who'd want to write a letter instead. Now that email could, I mean, that ad could say, if you'd like to send your answers to 128 Greenwich Road East, and then if you're really motivated and you want to write a letter and send it in, yes, we would have to, it would be some work. Because you would have to like type it into, we'd have to ourselves go in and like enter this, you know what I
Right.
mean? But it probably wouldn't be that many. I mean, what's maybe 10, maybe, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It wouldn't take much, so.
I was
How
thinking
about
the
that?
same thing.
Yeah.
So do people have a computer and do you think they would read email? Or do they do email?
Yes, no, I think
So-
everyone is pretty
so
much email
if
savvy
we
now.
had that couponer thing that said, a brief thing, we want your input. If you send a short email, we will send the link to you. So then they would just need our email. So if they sent their email to me and I get their email, I'll return and include the link. And then they would get it in their box, click the link, and then they could do it that way.
I'll tell you what, why don't I, since this is well in my wheelhouse, I'll make an ad that has these things, these options in it. I'll send it and it'll give ways for people to respond.
Okay.
And I'll send that out and then everyone can take, decide if they feel like it does it.
And then
It covers
we
it.
would want to have like a window, a plan where everything was in place and that this survey will be open for
Yeah,
a month. I don't
Yeah.
care how long, but so that we just tell people between, February 1st and April 30th, or whatever we decide to do, just so that there's an end date and people don't say, oh, well, I didn't get a chance. I didn't know it was gonna close so soon. So we want to talk about when it went live and then at what point we would.
so let's think about what timing would be best, right? So if we wanted to discuss it in a meeting, like will it be too long for me to, if I make the ad and bring it to the next meeting in February, then we'd give it to Norfolk now, it would not be until March. But maybe that timing is okay to have it open from like March 1st to April 1st. That seemed like
Yeah.
a reasonable timeframe.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make that plan and then.
And then we
So-
can have all the information by,
For the April meeting.
Yeah, we should be able to have it for the April meeting and then we can discuss it and then we can use that and kind of
Yeah.
synthesizing your plans for next steps.
Can we just call it Hotel School instead of Hotel School?
sure.
Yeah.
The one and only.
Yeah, I mean, actually, while we're looking at this right now, we haven't talked at all about the question. Do we want to maybe change what the question should be?
Is it any $20,000?
So both of them have it as Hotel School.
I think the questions are like, because it's like an open-ended, you can add whatever you want, rather than a more specific question to a certain portion of detail. It's kind of vague and makes it open to the own response.
But is this all I ask?
Short and sweet.
Well, that's not happening.
That was my, can we up that for 250?
I wonder what
You have
the,
control over the number of characters.
Because we're looking
Nothing
at
like
it.
it's typing middle of the sentence and writing those characters.
I can ask.
Is there a fee for using Thought Exchange? And,
Already paid, it's already paid.
oh,
Through Red Advance.
Yes, we made a little donation.
Thought Exchange. I'm just curious, like, if that's a,
So I will ask, how many characters would you like me to go for?
250.
It really is an opportunity. Yeah, for the communities. Or-
They can't answer multiple times.
Part 1, see by,
That's
see by
right.
next century. Part 73.
Yeah, I mean, 150 is that's like slightly longer than
Yeah. Yeah, every organization, the challenge when it comes to things like this is not having an extensive email list that you can't just. So, the one thing I like about if you're interested, send us an email and we'll send you a link. So that would be an opportunity to start compiling.
Yeah, gain a bigger list.
Yeah.
Would this be like good spot to have the question that we, again, you know, beginning of the year, like what direction do you see the school going or would like to see the school going? Or is that kind of,
Well, I feel like this,
kind of leaves it open, right?
well, I think that might include that. I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Mhm.
consider when crafting a new vision. We had talked about what topics were you interested in discussing at the board meeting? Remember when we talked about that? We were gonna try to have like a theme to it. So just to bring up to speed, Walter, one thing that our communication committee had proposed was people, we felt like people feel like they would come to a board meeting if there was like something they were interested in that was being discussed. And so if we like kind of broke down what are some categories of things that people might be interested in, like the discipline policy, something like that. Like, and if we had that as like, well, we're gonna give a little time to the discipline policy in this meeting and, you know, this month, or I don't know, whatever it might be. The budget discussion, like that one's kind of easy because that's got its regular time frame. Or I don't know, I can think of anything else. We had lots of them before. We had the whole year planned out, but now I can't. What was it like?
Probably something about the curriculum.
Yeah, exactly.
Multi-age.
I feel like that was.
So what we were doing at the time was like thinking and just thinking we wouldn't devote like a huge amount of time to it, but just have like a little agenda item where we could just kind of review a few pieces or, you know, touch base on how things were going in the school at that moment for that piece. So that, and then it would kind of give some structure to how people might find themselves more able to participate in the discussion. But I still do really like that idea. Do you remember what the question was? Or how did we phrase that question? Like, what? There's value, I think, though, you know, just to kind of to play devil's advocate, there's a lot of value to having one question to answer instead of having multiple, because I think people will find that accessible, it'll keep them focused, and it'll give us like, I don't know, give us some direction too, so we won't get muddled too many thoughts or details.
Yeah, I think this is a good balance. The EDC one was just one question. It was almost so open-ended that at least it's giving us a little direction, at least, you know, future new vision for the, what do you want to see in the middle of town? I just thought it was such a crazy question that I started pausing right away and then went back to it. So I like this. I think this is a good balance.
How do you think a second question would impact its ability to, you know?
I just don't think you want to get too long. I mean, maybe a second is fine, but
Well, and I'm not sure logistically then how that works in terms of, you know, synthesizing. If we're talking about a vision and like what do people see as Votel School? Because this kind of the genesis was, you know, we have a declining enrollment and, you know, there was this thing out there, we should close Votel and send kids to, you know, private school. We should do this, we should do that. But, you know, we do have a small population, but what do people want Votel to look like? Is the town really interested and invested in having a school as part of their identity? And if so, you know, what does that look like? I think if we start talking about, you know, adding other things, we lose the focus and.
Yeah, and you know, another thing that I was just thinking, this is generalized to the community, whereas maybe the board focus question could be more specific to our parents or something like that, then maybe we could do that as a second.
And we can do that easily. We can set up a monkey survey and send that out to our families as soon as we have the survey question.
Okay, well, so let's keep it simple. We'll stick with our one question and we'll work on an ad. And we'll follow that time frame and.
And I will ask if we have the
upping that.
ability to increase and if we can create, would you still be interested in having a QR code?
yeah,
So I'll ask.
the prime or the.
Right, yeah, I will ask if that's possible.
All I would need to know, what we need to know for the ad would be the address of, you know, how you can access this product page.
So wouldn't it, you want to give my address, my?
No,
email address?
it's gonna be a URL. It's gonna be a product page URL.
URL, all right, I will ask that too.
I would make the QR code. They wouldn't. do
Oh,
that.
okay,
We just need to know the.
Oh, I've got it written twice. You are okay. Okay, you are. Okay, got it.
Okay.
And then the last thing, we have scheduled a January 16th board meeting to discuss budget. We usually put that there as a placeholder, and what it really is we typically, it's voted, we don't have a board meeting, but we hold that date for the finance committee to sit. Kathy and I are at a place where we can share a pretty solid draft budget. We now, we know the salary benefit numbers, we've got the insurance numbers, we've got pretty much all of the fixed costs that we, know to be true. Not a lot of wiggle room, but if we can meet as the Board of Finance subcommittee that night, we can share that with you, any input, and then we'll bring it to the board first week in February. That still gives us plenty of time to have board discussion, make any changes, because we have a second meeting scheduled in February. Again, typically, the finance committee uses that second meeting to synthesize the board discussion, make final things, and then by the March meeting, the board is ready to vote on it, and we don't typically go to Board of Finance any sooner than the first week in March. So it sounds like a doable timeline again for this year.
Great, so you wanna propose canceling the second January meeting, general January meeting, but set up a finance committee meeting for that day.
Yeah. And that meeting's been on the books, and Walter's new to it, but if the 16th, I mean, it's a small group of people, so it doesn't have to be the 16th. If you want to come in on a, earlier in the afternoon or during the day and whatever,
John,
that's fine.
What works for you?
That's fine.
I'm here all day, every Tuesday, so.
So,
Keep it at 6?
yeah,
That would bring it down?
sure.
Okay.
Got it.
Amy, does that work for you?
Is Champagne?
Yeah, evenings are better for me. Yeah.
Perfect.
Tuesday at 6 is okay, Amy?
The 16th.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, great. Great, okay. All right, was there anything else?
No,
the
unless you've got
superintendent's report?
questions for me.
Does anyone have any questions about the check authorization and the expended budget?
Yeah.
Ooh, that shared services. policy, huh? All right, let's move on to the principal's report.
I have a couple of things to share. Liam Kerrigan, hotel student graduate, and is currently a student at Northwestern. He embarked on a capstone project and reached out to me about an interest that he had in learning how to engrave and etch different surfaces. So he asked if the school needed anything. And I came up with 2 ideas for him, and he dropped them off prior to the winter break. So I just wanted to share those with the board. This is a, engraved woodwork of our school charter. And this is something we can post outside next to the slide.
Those are fantastic.
They're beautiful. And
What is the bottom?
pardon?
The bottom of the board? Sorry, I'm short.
Can you bring it over here? We'll put it on that.
That's amazing.
Way to go, Liam Kerrigan. That's so
Right.
fantastic. Fantastic hotel student.
So responsible and mature. We communicated often through email. It was a lovely idea, and I was just so grateful that he reached out. He said he learned a lot about that whole process, and it was a great experience. So it was nice to see him.
Local looks on that.
It looks fantastic.
Oh,
He did an excellent job. So I invited him to come this evening to, so I could present it to all of you, but unfortunately he was unable to come, but I wanted to make sure that you all had an opportunity to see that because he did such an excellent job.
we should write him a letter and send him a nice note. I'm gonna do that.
But you have a board secretary, man.
Oh, John, would you like to?
Wow. You're getting a dirty look.
Terry doesn't have.
Ann leaves every board meeting with a to-do list like this, and
Cross that one off.
she really needs to be able to delegate because one person.
John's like, thanks.
Yeah. Dark.
Okay. I will email you.
I'm a text for the note.
Close, but you are wonderful. I don't think you can find out.
Basically just draft it and send it to him.
Maybe. Yeah, some stamps. Oh, no.
You got this. All right.
And I just wanted to update you on a couple of other things. So the board gave us 10 half days of professional learning, and we have been utilizing those in a number of ways. But one of the most recent things that we did was we created a what I need format for professional learning. And that was really well received by the teachers. So on the half days, teachers are working on, professional learning associated with our school goals and attached to their personal interest projects, which is part of the new evaluation model that we're piloting this year. And our last one, we offered 8 different topics, some run by, members of the staff like myself or our resource teachers, but others were just opportunities for people to collaborate, and that was very well received. We also, in our implementation of our new literacy program, we've had ongoing professional learning sessions with the coach who comes. She's coming again in a couple of weeks, and she'll help the teachers understand the big concepts associated with the next unit of study. That also is going very, very well. And then our Safe School Climate Committee had some professional learning associated with the new instrument that we're using called Renaissance Fundamentals, which is a questionnaire that can be used, like we've discussed it before. It's a questionnaire associated to different characteristics of factors associated with school success, associated with also with social emotional learning. And we had an opportunity to give that assessment to our students. And the purpose of the training was to help us analyze the results. So at our next Safe School Climate meeting, the school psychologist, Ashley Bono, and our school social worker, Melissa Duxis, they're going to share that information with all of us so we can, look at trends, any particular students that, might rise to a level of, further investigation that we didn't, notice, because one of the features of this is that it is, connected to other 3rd graders, 4th graders, 5th graders, and they look at all of that normed data. But one of the things that interested us a lot about this was kids that present in one way, but perhaps inside they're feeling a different way that wouldn't rise to the level of us noticing. These questions tease that out. So it's another way to have a safety net for our kids to make sure that they have what they need to be successful. And then I also, December was a little busy, so we have some student events that I wanted to share with you. We again participated in the CCMC PJ Day. We raised the most money we've ever raised thanks to very generous online donations. I think well over $300. Our goal was $100. So that is a statewide, fundraiser, and we participated in that again this year. We had our winter concert and sing along the day before the winter break, which was really well attended. We had a lot of families there. Many people from the community came. It was the kids did a great job, and Miss Crush did an excellent job preparing them. Unfortunately, the concert that was supposed to happen at Meadowbrook was canceled because school was canceled, but we'll try again for that next year. And the PTO sponsored a holiday fair, which was excellent. And the thanks to the generosity again of all of our parents and community members, the kids had gobs of things that they could, you know, purchase for family and friends. So those were some of the student events that happened. And just so you know, just with that outreach lens, the church in town that Reverend Olson, you know, leads, they are collaborating with, geez, I can't remember the name of the organization, but they're focusing on addiction, and uprooting addiction is one of the, I don't know if you've heard about that through town, but it was a film that was produced in Litchfield County, and the directors are coming. They're going to have a conversation, and that kind of dovetails with our focus of the month, which is mental health awareness. So our Safe School Climate team again is reaching out into the community to bring outside resources in, the therapy dog, which we discussed, and a yoga instructor in Canaan, and in North Canaan, I think. And we're focusing on just self-care and, you know, helping our kids recognize the importance of that. So we're, you know, looping that all in under one community outreach umbrella.
That's the Sunday, the 7th at 4 p.m.
Yes, yeah, and we just sent out an information flyer to our email list.
Yeah.
That's what you got there, yeah. So,
And I thought that was important that you underscored the age of the audience and turned it on.
yeah. I didn't bring our current enrollment. Let's see, nobody new came and nobody left. So if I had my phone, I could tell you, but our enrollment is holding steady. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone
Sure.
have any questions for the principal?
Lauren,
Yes,
is the survey that you were mentioning, is that the same survey or the same software that the middle school and high school are using as well?
yes, it is.
So that information can follow our student, the receiving school is going to be familiar with the format and the categories and whatnot.
I'm going to find out if that I mean, at least a paper trail can follow our students up to Northwestern. I'm not sure if it digitally can, you know, flow up to Northwestern, but I will ask about that, Amy.
But it's
Thank you.
It's the same format.
It's the same,
platform.
it's the
So-
same exact, yes.
And if they're going to do this on an annual basis, then our kids would be familiar with the format when they took it again up
Right.
at Northwestern.
Yep,
It would make a lot of sense for it to follow.
Yeah.
the
yes,
students. So hopefully that's built into them.
yeah, yeah, it would make sense.
Great. Was there anything else, Amy?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, let's move on to our standing committee reports. I don't think we've had a lot of meetings, and so I.
No,
No.
not a lot of time has passed.
Not a lot of time has passed. that's
Yeah.
right. Curriculum and technology, we decided to either postpone or cancel. Amy will be in touch about that. Finance has a meeting coming up. Policy has not met, right? Have you met? Policy?
No, but we've been working our little tails off on transitioning the policies from K to the shipment Goodwin. So we're still working on it. We've got all the policies, but the tricky part is getting them all uploaded, formatted into Botel format, uploaded, and then brainstorming on how we can make sure that that is available online for our families. But it will certainly simplify the job of policy committee moving forward, so it'll be good.
Great, okay.
Anne,
Yes,
the curriculum and technology subcommittee met in November, but then the meeting in November, it was a truncated meeting as we were moving to the next meeting. So we didn't report out on any of the subcommittee meetings. Do you
Oh.
want to hear
yes,
the
thank you.
review of November? I just wanted to pay special attention to the work that the literacy coach has done to integrate the materials from the materials that were usable still from the old curriculum into the format and the library of the new curriculum that the students are using. The feedback from what I've heard, it's been phenomenal from teachers, really enjoying the new early literacy curriculum that we bought for this year. And it was nice to hear that even though the format of the old curriculum, help me out with the wording, Lauren, if I'm getting it wrong, even though the format is not the same, the materials can still be used, and it's still just the new curriculum had the same kind of attention to student interest and being able to be flexible for our students in our classrooms that the old curriculum had. So it was the best of the old curriculum with some new wonderful pieces, one of which is the assessment tool, which has brought to light some things that had not really been that evident using the old curriculum. I'm just going to pause because I can't see faces. So Lauren, if you would give me a yes or no, I'm on the right track there.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And then the work with the illustrative math units is continuing, and another shout out to our teachers for how they're working collaboratively with our math coach to make sure that that's being implemented in the classrooms. And then there was some really cool talk about how the VR goggles that had been purchased prior to COVID but couldn't be used during COVID protocols are now being used in the classroom, and the kind of amazing feedback from the students with just the new experiences that they can have that tie into some of the units in the new literacy curriculum. And I think that's it. Looking at my notes here.
Nice.
Thank you, Amy.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Were there any other committees that, I wasn't at that November meeting, are there any other committees that didn't report that month that would like to report?
Yeah. Shared services was canceled for November. We did meet, I think, prior to the December one, somewhere in between, but the only conversation was the new vehicles of interest.
Okay.
But that was really good.
Okay.
But then this one was also canceled, or December was.
It's been a rough couple of months for meetings. This is like unprecedented.
Communication plans meet next week.
All right, that was next to my. That's what I was gonna say. Next, that's right. I don't think you were. I don't think you were here in December, Janet, but I urged all the committee chairs to, who have regular meetings, to make sure to get that list put together and to talk with Kathy about posting it so that it can, they can be properly put forth on the town website. Okay, health and wellness with, did we talk about that? I don't think that they've met since our last meeting. Shared services you just reviewed. For the PTO liaison, I wanted to ask you, Amy, if you might be willing to take that on. I know Ginger has a class, or she teaches when the PTO meets, and that you have been going to those meetings. And I was wondering if you might be willing to start reporting on the PTO meetings.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. Is there anything you'd like to share about what's happening with the PTO now at this meeting?
The big December, I don't know, PTO push was the holiday fair, which went off really well. And then the next kind of focus is the school play. The play for the last 2 years has been funded by the PTO. It's kind of a PTO project. And the Servo project and the Chazo project. So thank you guys. But it's going over to some new PTO members who are taking it on this year. But it created such a buzz in the community that a donation was given to the PTO for the play itself. So it was really nice to hear. There were some great compliments about the quality of the production and being able to see the kids do these things on stage. So that will be March, I think it's 7th and 8th in school. And then the 9th is a Saturday. Will be the last day of the production. But that's what I can remember. Sorry, I did not take good notes at the last meeting, but that's what I can remember us talking about.
What's the play going to be, Amy?
It's Frozen.
Oh, wow.
Frozen Junior, yep. Oh, and the hotel merch fundraiser, we sponsored it more out of school spirit and because there was interest in from families and from staff, but it did well and it did raise us some money. So we'll follow that up with a fundraiser for Norfolk merch in the spring.
It's great. And you know, something that to consider or to talk to the PTO folks about is maybe if you want to establish an online store for those things, you know, just give that some thought and I'd be happy to help put that in place on the website.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry. Something else is coming to me that Warren, I can't remember which school group had asked to plant a tree in
Oh,
honor
that was
of.
the Safe School Climate Committee, yes.
Okay. So the PTO is considering sponsoring the tree and the installation of a tree for the students. But we're trying to check for species. We don't want to plant an invasive species or a tree that's not going to survive well. So we're reaching out to some of the local communities that we know might be able to help us there.
Where do they want to plant the tree?
We don't know where yet, but we wanted to, after Unity Day, the student council was very excited about the idea of a Unity tree, like an actual tree. There was an activity where you could make a paper tree and make a pledge to, you know, be an upstander, but they took that one step further and really got jazzed about a real tree that could be our Unity tree. And so I brought that to the PTO. A palm tree, yeah, that way.
And happens to have
Oh,
one
my-
sitting in
my
a living
paper
room.
problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
That's going cheap.
that's great. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Amy. Was there anything from the school safety and security meeting that you'd like to share, John? Beyond the tree?
Well,
Do you mean December? I'm sorry.
Lauren and I showed up, but
That's
nobody
true.
else did.
Yeah, we had a staff, yes.
Well, I wondered about it because it wasn't an email, right?
Well, you know, usually we send out reminders to all the committees and it was busy and we didn't send out the reminders. So we, lesson learned, we need to send out reminders.
I assume that Norfolk was.
Yeah, we try to help people out with that, but every once in a while we get a little
But in
bit.
fact, it was your responsibility, John. That's what I'm hearing.
Listen, write a letter and remind everybody. Watch out what you, you know.
That's pretty. So it wasn't your responsibility.
No.
All right, I take that back. Was not a liaison.
But
You just has to watch.
that's a committee that usually we get a good showing. I mean,
Right.
it's largely made out of our community members and school stuff, school people, but like all the regulars, even Richard. I mean, Richard doesn't ever miss, but I thought, well, maybe there was a memo that it was canceled and Lauren and I don't get it, but next time, next meeting we'll send
It's
out.
been about a couple of months for meetings. I don't know what
Yeah, it's
happened.
been,
There's some kind of-
yeah.
It's a busy time.
It's
Busy
people
time of the
get
year.
sick, multitasking.
So if we get an email, we'll be meeting our next regular scheduled meeting.
Which is in February.
All
Yeah.
right, perfect. Okay. How about from the Board of Finance? Any news there, Chair? Amy, I have you as that liaison and no. John also offered us that one. And Mary Beth, you
I'm
can.
sorry, I have not been at the last Board of Finance meetings. They've been at the same time as the firehouse proposal moving forward through committees.
That's right.
Well, the only real discussion that was relevant to us is our boiler, which Matt is talked to some of our reps at the State Department to see if we can possibly get some help with that. But in the meantime, we're getting quotes and fingers crossed that at least one of the boilers makes it through the season, because by the time the quotes come in and you go through that process and then parts and boilers are ordered, it's not likely that it will happen before the end of this winter, but it's moving forward, and the town is going to use, they did vote at that meeting to use the $63 that remains in the non-lapsing account.
For
Which will cover about
$63.
$1,000. $1,000 that will
Sounds
help
like
to-
my bank account.
I'm thinking like the truncated numbers here, but budget season numbers are like, no, if they're not small, I can't keep them all in my head, but no, $63,000, which will be cover about a third of the cost, according to the quote we got from Pilates, but. Yeah, well, it's two, but it's smart to go with two rather than,
Okay. So that's moving forward and there's nothing.
there's nothing we can do. I did say that, if there was anything we could do to support, a grant writing or whatever, but, right now it's on the desk of, Maria. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. EDC, well,
Nothing to report there.
did they happen to talk about the, not the, I think there was.
Oh, the video?
They had talked to the task folks about it.
They did not. The December meeting, if I'm remembering correctly, was canceled. So
Meeting mojo. Yeah, it's right around for 2024.
But on a really positive note, the monthly hour with administrators at the hub has been very well attended with lively discussion.
mhm.
And
So would you like to tell us a bit about those discussions? Is there anything you can share from that? That would be good to know.
a big focus has been around, coming up with a way to offer activities to our students after school. At the last meeting, Libby said she'd reached out to someone who had said that they would match up to $25,000 to pay for a person to administer and manage this, so that it would be a liaison between community members who had clubs or activities or interest to share. That's a long day. Who's the man that's going to do the tours, the walking tours?
Partly.
Partly
Partly
me.
me, has offered to do monthly walking tours and, take students and give them, history and lesson on some of the forests and some of the, nature around hotel grounds. He scheduled one for last month, but we only had one person sign up for it. Even though we've been making it clear to folks that this isn't a school thing, it's really, because we don't vet these folks. So I did call the parents to let them know that their child would be the only one. It would be one-on-one with someone not related to school. And those parents decided that that was not a good idea. So hoping there'll be more interest moving forward, because, we've seen it happen before. There's great energy and interest, but for some reason, we're not getting a response, and then that.
Well, so if the idea is to have an after-school program that is administered by a particular employee, maybe we should be collaborating with the rec department about that.
Well, we've been talking about the rec department too. Yeah, they're there. I mean, Hartley is the new director of Park and Rec.
Oh, yes.
I think. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I
so.
don't know that.
So
Okay,
he's
well,
gonna try to beat that up, but they're talking about having like, chess club, at the library
Right.
on Tuesdays. And we said our role would be, we will get the kids to wherever. If someone wants to sponsor a cooking class at the church in the kitchen, we'll have the bus drop them off there. But it would be up to the different organizations, be it the library or an individual, to arrange, with the parents so that it's not a school, and it would be their job to vet. And the position that, Libby's talking about, she actually kind of jump-started this and jumped over a few hoops and reached out to,
Kelly.
thank you, Kelly,
Oh.
and
Condra Hughes.
she said that she could do that remotely, and Kelly's interested in doing that, if, it gets there. But that person would be the liaison between the parent, the community member, and make those connections, so that the school is not going to be liable for the vetting of people and for all of the particulars. So it would be
So it would be a town
a
after-school program. It
town
would
after
be
school.
appropriately situated in
Yes.
the rec department, I
Mhm.
think.
But
I mean, that
right
would make
now,
sense to
other
me.
than Hartley and their work, he's like more focusing on a soccer
Pickleball.
and a basketball and
Of
pickleball.
course, yeah.
But this would be like a lot more than just the sports, and I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
so
know-
it'd be to have an after-school program. So
Yeah.
the Norfolk after-school program, the NASP, that was never owned by the board. That was like its own organization. And
Yeah.
then the PTO kind of took over or, enveloped because that lost its driving force. And now I think it's probably hard for the PTO to maintain it as well.
Yes.
So I could see the value of having a paid position to do that, but I also can see like why it can't be in the school budget, because it's just not.
And the money
The
as
way
well
that
as the responsibility, it would be time and money and responsibility that I think is more than hotel.
But the school can, house that, like they can have programs here,
We could offer,
because it's
that's
it's a-
right, and
it's a
we could
place
have
that-
teachers if they wanted, we could offer our space, and like I said, we could offer our transportation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's interesting because like Hartley's been coming to these meetings, and it never came up that, other than things that he, were directly related to sports or things that he would be personally interested in doing would fall under Park and Rec, but
I don't know, does that make
it
sense
makes a
to
lot
you
of
guys?
sense, but
Like the idea of having,
that's
like I know something that I used to be really wanted to have happen is to have summer camps, in Norfolk. I think, again, like it's that same sort of thing, like with all these great resources in town, but you need somebody to organize it. It needs to
And,
have, like, place for it.
Park and Rec is all volunteers.
Yeah, I know.
So there's really nothing that is going to be sustainable if you are counting on a volunteer to do it.
Yeah.
So if it's a value that the community wants, and like you don't have neighborhoods here, it's not like kids go home and, play basketball with the neighborhood. I mean, so to have a really, well, I mean,
South Norfolk strong.
to have a robust variety of activities that can be very flexible. So it
Yeah.
might be something that's once a month. Another thing might be, for 2 months, we're gonna do this, every week. But to not have someone who is
Yeah.
paid to administer and to be the liaison, it's just not gonna.
I'm a little confused. So is Kelly, they're proposing Kelly to be this paid liaison?
That was
Isn't she
what
remote at the moment?
she is.
Does that work?
I don't know. I just know that Lauren and I got an email from Kelly saying, oh, I would be thrilled to work for, and I'm thinking, oh, boy,
Yeah,
that's
from
like,
Oregon.
so I did respond and I said, it's the, initial steps of conversation, and
Yeah.
Libby has, talked about having a paid position, and that, recommended that you would be a perfect person to do it, and she would be,
Oh, yeah.
but I think it a little bit, putting.
Maybe the EDC.
Horse before the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Well, and we're gonna
Norfolk
put out
Foundation.
a short survey to our families to gauge interest
That's
and,
been the trouble with
that's,
the.
yeah,
I mean, you guys already know this, but
right.
my experience has been, the trouble with the after-school program was that there were just not enough kids who wanted to be in the after-school program.
Yeah.
So then you make this great program and you get
Right.
these volunteers who are super excited.
Yeah.
And then you have to say, I'm sorry, there's no one who signed up for your class. And then it's
Right.
devastating.
And in a very, in my nicest kind of positive way, I did say to Libby, that's a risk, and I suggested that we put the survey out, because if you don't, to go out and be talking about funded position and naming the person and all of that, and then you don't.
No
And so case in point, Hartley has this wonderful passion about leading these groups. And, we had one child. So, if we know up front that parents really, and I've got a copy of it sitting on my desk, the survey that we're going to send out. But to just kind of get a sense of, what is the interest?
Yeah.
And, I know that there are some things that would be valuable to do even if it was for 2 kids, but this is an awfully big
Yeah.
endeavor, so.
Trying to up the students from, say, Culver.
Absolutely.
why
So,
not?
and the Culver kids
The
used to
only
come
thing
to
is
the school program.
transportation. That would be the only, like.
Transportation and timing, our
Yeah.
school hours are slightly
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
so that was a problem before.
So our
Which might
budget would
work
be
in our favor, because they get out earlier, and by the time they get
They
the
travel,
kiddos
yeah.
over here, then that could theoretically be like.
If they came.
That's down hill, so you want to fight.
Right, right.
Do we know when that is gonna go out?
Is there,
The survey.
is there any value to asking the students what they might be interested in? If they're not
No.
interested
I think, because if let's face it, if kids pester their parents about, hey, I wanna do this after school.
Well, the
A lot
only
of
thing
times that
is
happens.
if you get kids who tell, this is what I want to do, now you've got to go out and find somebody to do that. So I think if we start from, at least initially to say, here are the things that we've got people who want to do. Are there any of these things that you would be interested in? Because that would be tricky. I mean, remember when we did the enrichment courses and we put it out to kids and, you can't produce for every kid, for every interest.
But if we had data from the students and 50% of them wanted a basketball club, that would give the community or the
Oh,
EDC
right,
data to
right,
work
right.
with to say, oh, here's where the kids want to go. And I don't know, it just seems like rather than
So right now we
guessing
have
at what we should
chess
offer, we
and
can.
nature walks. I'm not sure if any kid would put that on their list, and we've got people who want to do that. So sometimes, and maybe it's a combination of both, but if kids don't, aren't exposed to something, they don't maybe even know it exists. So to give a list and do a little bit of well, this is what this would be about, you might be able to spark interest in something that the kid wouldn't otherwise think of. But in terms of sports and some of those bigger things, absolutely. Absolutely. And even if we did something like that and we had a rough idea of what kind of general topics kids were interested in and put that out there may be folks out there that would be interested in facilitating that.
Well, I'm really glad that those administrative hour with the admins is going really well. Is there any support that you need from the board in order to continue that, or do you feel like we should put that on our agenda kind of for you to share those?
We did this for years here
I know,
at,
yeah.
at Botel in early evening. And John came a couple times, Ian came a couple times, maybe somebody else, but for the most part.
Yep.
Donna. Donna came, but mostly it would be Lauren and I having a nice hour, and sometimes the only hour of the day that we got to really spend some quality time chatting, but having the additional hour, we're still doing it in the evenings, and we've yet to have a single person come at night, but that's okay. The having it at the Berkshire store is in the middle of the day has just been,
Well, appreciate you being available to do that, and I think it's a really important outreach to the community, so.
well,
Please
I'm
keep
just
sharing what they
happy that-
tell you, or what you talk about, because, that's.
And
important.
it's really, anything to generate positive, conversation about hotel. And we've, when people get close enough to see what really goes on here and to kind of get to know the players, they're very, very positive. Our families are positive. We have like the letter that, you just got from, and the donation. But for a while, there was this negativity that was like, we don't know, but when people kind of get close, we've turned around some pretty negative people who are now cheerleaders. So, if we can do that, we're ahead of the game.
In a real great place. Okay, great. All right, so, we now are, at the end of our agenda, so, if there is anyone who would like to make a motion for adjournment. Second? All those in favor? All right, we will adjourn the meeting, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. Good to see you all back.
I will tell you.
Wonderful job.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. You're so nice.
Oh, no, I'm not.